everyone, this is Suzette for Cloudy Sky today. Now you must be wondering what's with the getup. Well, this is that head strap, and I'm actually wearing the chin strap with the phone already in it. I put it so that the screen is facing me, and this is the setup I actually used the chest strap with the screen facing me when I was doing some baking. So I just want to share it with you, and it's kind of like a review of using this. Now, I didn't really use the head strap because I had a fear. First of all, the phone is up here, and I'm gonna have that problem I had when I was doing a painting where I couldn't see to make adjustments, whereas with the chest strap this way I can actually see some of the footage and make adjustments to the chest strap, even though I'm busy with my hands, because that's the whole purpose of these point of view things. But I found the head strap to be a little bit harder to use, plus I had a fear of the phone, you know, falling into my batter. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this media source and play. Now, I did do some editing and speed it up, and trying to see. You can actually see me cutting, you see me pouring and weighing, so I think that's pretty good so far using the chest strap. The mixing, you know, and as I moved, it moved, so I could actually use the chest strap, put my hands in front, and look at the item and go, oh, this is the meringue powder. In which case, here I'm mixing the powdered sugar and the meringue powder after I weigh it out. And it was much easier. I found it much easier to make the adjustment if I wanted it more back this way or down this way, but I also could see the screen. Yeah, I know. I'm using another camera that I'm not doing too well, so yeah, I could do the screen, make whatever adjustments, and then put it back, check it, and then continue with my hands. So I found this very helpful. Now, I'm a little bit cheapy. I'm just going to go ahead and call myself frugal. Yes, that's the right word, frugal. So I use the aluminum foil instead of buying those fancy foils to do the lilies. You can buy those little square papers. So I just cut my own papers using foil paper. And for Christmas, because, poinsettias are the December flowers, I am making poinsettias. So I start off with making, and instead of buying a thing to cradle to help form the flowers, I use cupcake pans. Yeah. Frugal. Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. So I let that, when you're making royal icing, I do believe the proportion is 3 tablespoons meringue powder to a pound powdered sugar. And I blend that first, and then I add in some vanilla because I like, some of us like to eat the royal icing, and then I also add in some water, about 6 tablespoons. You get it really thick, but because I didn't want it that thick, yeah, I add in more to make it a little bit thinner. And I didn't want to make it too thin to begin with because I was going to add food coloring, which does contain, some water, I believe, or some liquid. It does contain some liquid, So for the green, I did use, it's actually, I have a mix of products I use. As you can see, I use a Hamilton mixer. I'm trying to remember. I do have stuff from products. I think the bags I use are Celebration. Of course, I use some regular Reynolds aluminum foil. Those color drop things actually is Wilton, so I use the red, the blue, and the yellow I used to make the green, and I think I added a little bit of black to make it a little bit darker green. And I eyeball stuff. They do have a chart on the back of the box how much you can use. So there I am adding in the blue and yellow. I put a little tip of, I don't think I did it then. Okay, so I guess here I should have adjusted the camera down, but this is what I'm saying. I get really busy and I'm not paying attention to the camera. So if it was on my head, it would be even worse. But at some point I did adjust it a little bit. So you can see it. Now that one is the red. And a lot of times when you have a white item and you want to get a darker color, you can either add more tints to it, or you can add just a little drop of black to get it into that darker shade. And I think that's how from doing painting this year, you get navy by using the blue, maybe a little white, and then you put a drop of black, so you get that gray and the blue mixing to give you that navy color. Now, pretty much this is a little bit on the boring side, so hence why I speed it up. Now I'm going to fill the bags. You know, you need a bag, and that's why I said I had the celebration bag. Those are actually Wilton tips. You know, that thing that is standing on is a Wilton tray. I had a couple of the lily formers I used for the poinsettia. I used the tip, I can't remember the number of it, that the big one for the leaves, and then that's what well, first I'm filling the bag. I'm jumping ahead of myself. So yeah, so the tip I use is the one for the leaves, the big one. And I didn't use a coupler, I just put it in the bag because I'm pretty much going to use that bag by itself. For the poinsettias, I also use, I believe, either a number 5 or a number 3 tip. And you can see there I am with the using the lily former to use the leaf tips to make the you use that for all, call it leaf tip, but you also use that for lilies. And you probably, you know, you can have lilies a different color, but I'm making poinsettias. So I did a couple of those with the lily formers. And I am using both hands, and that is the beauty of having, I think, this system, that you can, well, I guess you could also have a stand, you know, put it on a tripod or a stand and then have it shoot out to an area, but then you probably have to do wide angle and you probably won't get as close, you know, as you see I am right here with the flowers. So here I'm getting ready to green, and I first tried a number 1 tip, but I had such a hard time squeezing that bag that I had to go to, you know, a slightly larger hole. As you can see, I'm struggling. Then I did use a coupler, and those are actually from Wilton again. Of course, I have a Wilton mat, and that's like the fondant mat, but I like to lay it on the I leave it on the table and I tape it down, because, you know, once I take it back up and roll it back up and put it in something, then I gotta unroll it and try and straighten it up before I use it. So I pretty much leave it. This is like my little baking table, and there I'm using the tip to make dots on 3 of them I already formed. I go ahead and do about a dozen of these. Now I'm going to jump ahead because I do have like 60 minutes of footage, and we don't need to do all that footage. And this is after speeding up, so it was actually more, because I did the poinsettias on one day, and then I did, well, let's jump ahead to the next day, hopefully. Let's see if this is it. No, I'm still doing poinsettias. So now this is another day. I am making the cupcakes. And for this cupcake, I'm following a recipe. It's a vegan cupcake recipe, because, you know, I'm trying to be a little bit more inclusive, not just, so I'm making something called the easiest vanilla cake. And I actually add I alter the recipe a little bit. Instead of just using 1 cup whatever you call that sugar, I mix the brown sugar and the granulated sugar. For the yeah, you can see it has vinegar. It has slightly different. It doesn't have any eggs, it doesn't have any milk, and it doesn't have any butter. And for oil, I use the coconut oil. I also, instead of just leaving it as a vanilla cake, I added in some cranberry. You know, it's after Thanksgiving. You want to know, what do I do with that leftover cranberry? Well, this is one thing you can do. You can, you know, make a cake and incorporate cranberry in it. Gives it a nice tart taste, and you can even use cranberry in dressing. I found a different recipe for that. So for this one, I use coconut oil instead of canola oil. And yeah, I'll link some of these recipes below so that you can try them out yourself. But pretty much I'm testing this. Well, you know, I was going to do a video with me baking, but I never did finish the footage, so you don't get to see the fully decorated stuff. But I do like that. I think I got a better handle of the chestStrap on this day, because, you know, you can see what I'm doing and the effect of what it is. I'm going to jump ahead again. So this is me walking around in the kitchen. Of course, I speed it up. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to use the rest of that cranberry sauce. And I took the cranberry and the coconut oil. So this one actually had butter in it, but instead of butter, I use coconut oil. And I mix the coconut oil and the cranberry, and then I slowly add powdered sugar, about 5 cupfuls. So I get a nice, they call it a wet icing. You get the icing. So this has no meringue, so there's no egg whites, there's no animal products in this one. So this was for the cranberry, the vanilla cake, the easiest vanilla cake with no eggs, no milk, no butter, that I added cranberry to, and this is the topping I chose to create. I also cut up some cranberries, and after making the cranberry cupcakes, let it cool. I added in the topping, and then with the cut up, after I put the icing on top, sprinkle a couple of the cut up cranberries. I know it's kind of hard to describe when I made the footage so fast. Okay, so we're gonna jump again, and I also ate that piece. So leftover things that didn't hold in the cupcake thing, I put it in the ramekin and baked ahead. So let's jump ahead at this footage. So I would say the footage overall is not bad. Now, this is how I do chocolate. I like to do the double boiler method, where I take the chocolate chips and with coconut oil again, no butter, melt it and then add in the sugar and beat it. I like to add in some spices like nutmeg, a little bit of cinnamon to give it that, give the chocolate a nice taste. It's not like I buy expensive chocolate, so, you gotta flavor up your cheap chocolate, make it taste better. Now this one I did put eggs in, but I do love coconut oil flavor versus butter. And I like to crack the eggs, how you say it, one at a time into a container, just in case the egg is bad. I don't want to crack it right into the thing, because then, if the egg is bad, then you end up having to discard your whole batter that you worked so hard on. So I usually like to crack it into the bowl. There I'm adding the vanilla. I guess in that case the head one would have been better, because you don't even see, I didn't even stop to go, oh, here's a vanilla bottle. So you get a view around my kitchen as I turn. That's the thing about the chestStrap. So it does give you that point of view, and it's a little bit lower, so you get to see what exactly I'm doing. Now, fortunately, I don't get into where I decorated the final cake. I did have some footage, but I accidentally lost it. It's known as the delete button, and it didn't go to my recycle bin. Not sure where it was, but we got a good chance testing this chestStrap. So I would say, at this time, I hope you enjoy this footage, and if you use some of these things and you have some tips for me, because this time I need one's tips how to exactly wear this thing and adjust it while you're busy with your hands, yeah, please leave me a suggestion down below or shoot me an email or something. Alrighty, bye now.